Winx is coming back, but like not in the Netflix kind of way. So breathe your sigh of relief, but don't breathe it too quickly because there are allegations of them using AI, which are not very much allegations. They finally made the full jump to 3D, and this is going to be a full reboot, not just a season 9. We're starting over from the beginning, and if you've been paying attention, we've seen the eventual jump to 3D as they've been incorporating 3D into the regular 2D shows, and the show is set to release in June of 2025. What I can appreciate is that the 3D visuals look really bright and colorful and detailed as much as we love 2D. If they plan on making this a long, ongoing series, 3D is probably smarter for the long term just to make things easier for animators. The teaser trailer makes it look very cinematic, and it seems like the flow of the writing won't be quite as clunky as what I've seen in the past. When I talk about making a show more mature without making it a crappy CW drama, this is kind of what I mean. It's more like in the feel of the writing. You can release the same story but tweak certain aspects of it where the delivery just feels less childlike. I guess mature would be the wrong word. I guess less childlike would probably click better with some of these writers because they hear mature and they're like, ah yes, dark and gritty. And I'm like, no, that's not what we mean. In terms of their character models, I think they look great. I know everyone wants me to hate on everything about this reboot, but the matter of fact is that you want Winx to be rebooted, because if it's not rebooted, then it just dies. So when I see that there's a reboot, I have to remain optimistic because unlike a lot of fans, I understand that this is only healthy for our favorite shows, and so long as they're maintaining the same story beats and adhering to the original concepts of its predecessor, then that tells me that the creators still love the original show, and that's really what I want. I want the story I already love given a fresh coat of paint. Transformers, Ninja Turtles, they've been rebooted so many times, it's nauseating. And that's because they know how to keep a franchise alive. There's like a lot of pushback with the Monster High reboot and the Winx reboot, but this is what it needs. It's a necessary evil that we have to swallow if we want to keep our favorite shows alive. Even if we may have inferior versions, I'm looking at you, Monster High. What I was afraid of is them doing away with the fashion aspect of the show and how each character's clothes reflect their personality. Like a lot of reboots will dumb down the designs just to make it easier to animate. I don't quite feel like that's happened here. I do have some nitpicks. Clearly it's not the same as what it was before. There's a lot less midriff, and I would go so far as to argue that these new outfits actually differentiate them more than the original somewhat, because fashion changes, especially nowadays with micro trends, but I try not to really consider those because that doesn't really reflect the zeitgeist of fashion. It's just selling you something and that's really it. But what is appealing to kids now is completely different from what appealed to us as kids when we were younger. Flora's outfit looks like something a middle schooler would wear. It also looks like something that an adult would wear, funny enough. It kind of is pretty versatile. Aisha's outfit just looks like something a high schooler would wear, and also what a person would look like going to the gym. I'm not saying it's not very high fashion, it's not very couture, it's more approachable. Anybody can wear this kind of stuff. I've heard the sentiment that it feels very JoJo Siwa, specifically from, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, Lisa Fevrel. Yeah, go check out her video if you want to get their take on everything. And although I hate to agree, I don't particularly hate it. I understand the approach. I don't want to sit here and wave my cane at the youngins, telling them that the new stuff sucks and our stuff was better. We need to understand what kids like nowadays, and there's people out there whose entire job is just understanding what kids like, because it's very difficult to pinpoint what that is and what the next hit thing will be with kids. And even if we prefer what we grew up with, we shouldn't just automatically default to saying their stuff is bad. And I'm not joking when I tell you that you have to adopt that mindset when you become a parent. Not that I'm a parent, but my dad really understood that if you want to connect with your child, your incredibly stubborn child that has some developmental problems, that you need to take an interest in their interests if you want to make a connection with them. And my hope is that kids like this reboot. And if that means this, fine, because kids will keep Winx alive. If we have to make some fashion sacrifices, then okay. Honestly, going back to Lisa's video, like her breakdown of the fashion with the reboot is so much better than what I could ever articulate. I really recommend watching that video. After you finish watching this one, don't you dare click away. I would argue Stella's outfit's very lacking, especially for someone that's supposed to have money and be a fashionista, which makes me concerned that they may have changed that core aspect of her character. I'm fine with the skirt. I'm assuming it's a skirt and just a top that looks incredibly similar to the skirt. The top is way too form-fitting, and if anyone would have a real understanding of fashion, it should be Stella, and they dropped the ball here. Stella looks fine if it's a kid that dressed themselves for the first time. It's yellow on yellow and yellow, and they just vomit yellow. They don't change up the texture or the fabric or the pattern. Mostly you need to change up the pattern, and they obviously don't change up the color. It's just yellow. You can do all yellow if you change up the pattern, but they didn't. Musa, actually, I'm all for how Musa looks. She always seemed more practical and kind of down to earth, and cargo pants with a double layered top functions great on her. People say that like they don't like layers, and I'm like, yeah, no, you need layers. Layers make things look great. Oh, I have so much cat hair on this. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. I feel like Musa wouldn't make things too complicated and would adhere to more of an urban street fashion more closely. Flora is probably my favorite with her outfit. The only person wearing something that I would think a horse rider would wear that wants to be looking cute also. Like a wide dress that makes it easy to hop on a horse, and a cropped jacket that will protect your arms if you fall off. I know she's the plant girl, but I'm just getting horse girl vibes from this, and I feel that's also pretty fitting for her character. Aisha / Layla is sporty, and she's wearing athleisure attire, low-hanging fruit, but I mean, you technically hit the mark. Good job. Tekna, I mean, yeah, I guess that's Tekna. I'm surprised they didn't think to do like, I don't know, like more tech wear or like reinvent tech wear. They just said, make it holographic and call it good. I feel like this is either the fashion designers, like the fashion forward kind of people behind the scenes, and the character designers butting heads and saying, no, simplify it. And the fashion designers are like, well, what's even the point of us being here? What's even the point of making it 3D if you're just going to say simplify it to make it easier to animate? I thought the point of making it 3D was so that you can use like physics engines to do some of the work for you. All of them is a major downgrade from the original outfits, both in terms of fashion and just general character design. They both kind of flop. And remember, we could have had an art style reminiscent of Season 8. I hope we can all agree that even though it's 3D, this is far better than getting more of what Season 8 offered. They really didn't change Stormy, Icy, and Darcy because, well, I mean, clearly they didn't need to. There was a rumor going around that the show used AI art, and in the behind the scenes of the development and the concept sketches, I can see why people would think that. The concept sketches of the characters look a bit uncanny valley. But there's two things I want to point out. First, some people can just draw like that. We have no way of knowing in this specific instance if this is AI art or not. But second, and there are like more examples of AI art during the concept stages that I'll get into later in this video. But before I do, the second point I want to make is that as much as I don't like the fact that AI art exists, I also have to face the reality that this is our new reality. And if it's going to exist, and this is it's the worst it's ever gonna get, it's only gonna get better from here. If this is going to exist, I feel like if it's going to be used, I'd prefer if it isn't going to be used, but if it's going to be used, it should be used as a tool and not a supplement. In this case, if they're using the AI art generators to help them flesh out the work during the concept stages, okay. So long as AI isn't being used in the final product, I'll cross my arms and roll my eyes and move on. But I will get into all the other examples of the AI art that's been used during the concept stages later on in this video because there is quite a lot of evidence. And what I forgot to mention is that the only reason I have this take, even though it is clearly taking jobs away from concept illustrators, is that apparently AI is not a deal breaker to as many people as I would have hoped it would. And even though the fight against AI needs to continue, it's very disheartening seeing so many people that just seem to not actually care about how bad the AI art generators affect people, the environment, the jobs, and it's like, wow, okay, screw you guys, I guess. Now, these designs are the transformations of the series, and remember that these are still concept illustrations, so they might change in the final design. I'm glad they didn't try to censor the kind of look of the transformations, that being them exposing more skin. I feel like it makes them, like, a sense of the transformations to simultaneously be like an aging up of the characters as well, and drawing them in an outfit that feels more adult is not only going to make the transformation more impactful, but also will appeal to kids. Like, they could envision themselves as looking like this when they grow up. Still cutesy and fantastical, just adults, especially in contrast to their new casual outfits. In an interview with, I still haven't learned how to pronounce his name, I'm never gonna learn. The creator of Winx, at Comic-Con in Naples, he said the following: Roxy will be rejoining our favorite group of fairies in the future. We say that Roxy is part of the Winx Club, but she chose to stay on Earth to support and adapt to the Earth fairies. Looking back at past seasons, you can see that the Winx were struggling with environmental issues, so the need for fairies on Earth was extremely high. Naboo isn't dead, he just disappeared. Though many people thought he was dead, but perhaps, like tomorrow, he may return. Since they're already talking about Roxy and Naboo, it's a little surprising and makes me think they're really going to cut out a lot of fat when it comes to the story. Naboo not being dead actually kind of worries me. If no one's really going to die, what are they going to do to create tension? Because, like, there's other ways to create tension in a story without having to just kill someone or the risk of death. Don't get me wrong. That is definitely something that can happen. I love it when they have those stories that's like, oh, we used to be friends, but now I'm going through a villain arc and I'm going to join the bad guys now. That's a solid way to do it. Nobody dies in that instance. The friendship dies. But them, I feel like this is backpedaling, but them backpedaling on Naboo's death makes it feel like they're going to water down the plot for the sake of making it friendly for kids. I feel like it's just making it too safe. And when they make things too safe, then it really just appeals to no one. Roxy coming back makes me happy. Since, yeah, I liked her character, and I also like the fresh take on the idea of discovering you have magic in this world. Like, her discovery was very much like Bloom, but an entirely different reaction to it, and that's what I liked about her. We got a first clip of the show showing Bloom accidentally setting things on fire, which is really more of just a tech demo than anything else. The animation, certain parts are a little janky, like it's missing some in-between frames, and her hair feels flat on the top to me. And for some reason, that smile, oh, it haunts me. Ooh.
I want an apology on social media.
But nobody follows me on social. Not good.
Well, it feels like the voice acting is going to be a little stiff, which I'm pretty used to that with shows like this, and by shows like this, I mean shows from Rainbow and RAI. I was hoping for something a little better. The sequence of Bloom pulling Mitzi into the stall actually looks really good. I like the flowy nature of it, like it's almost over animated, but only for scenes where there's quick movement happening. I feel like that's a good balance. Also, her hair is way shorter in the bathroom scene than it is in the demo with her trying to put out the fire, so, The interview with the creator also stated, the reboot will feature the same characters fans know and love with a new CGI look. Winx Club means a lot to me. It's the story I created many years ago, and still today, after 20 years, it brings emotions to millions of viewers around the world, and so I always had a special connection with Winx and with the fans. We will continue to keep the story interesting and alive for many, many years. It will definitely be something in the DNA of Winx, but also totally new in terms of graphics and animation. The series will be created for original fans to enjoy while also giving new fans a chance to discover the world of Winx. Most importantly, the new series will stay true to the certain themes that made the original series popular among viewers. As such, fans can expect to see the same multicultural, diverse set of powerful women leading the action in high fashion. We recently realized that the boys and girls from 20 years ago are still fans of Winx today. We realized this is the moment to not only concentrate on young girls, but also this audience of 20 to 25-year-olds, says Valeria Gully, International Marketing Manager at Rainbow. We are also really proud to be one of the first brands to launch a multi-ethnic group of girlfriends, and we are really proud of that. The Winx always saves themselves, and often they don't need a Prince Charming. They even save their boyfriends too, so they can make it on their own and don't need anybody. That's their power, and we're really proud of this. Gosh, I wish Mattel understood that about their fans. But this means they're either going to be walking a very fine line, or they actually have a solid idea about where they're going, and I'm really hoping it's the latter. It's becoming very rare when you hear them directly say that, like that they're trying to appeal to two age demographics simultaneously, which I think a lot of these places and a lot of these companies do, especially with like toys. Ever since like MLP blew up and adults and kids were wanting the toys and sales boomed, and Star Wars, adults and kids want the toys. At this point, I think more adults want the toys than the kids with Star Wars. So they know that there's just a much bigger market they could be appealing to and more money they could be making. I hope that other studios understand the fact that the real avenue for success is that you need to satisfy the needs of the fans that haven't left this fandom for several decades, because they're going to be the ones doing the most word-of-mouth marketing for you. Too many of these executives think kids shows are just made for kids, and they're just for kids, and only kids are going to watch them. And very few of them understand that adults watch kids shows too. Case in point, hi. Like, you can make a good show that just so happens to also be appropriate for kids. Oftentimes, the people in power are the most out of touch with their core audience, and I'm really happy to hear this from them. But that being said, there's always a chance they'll screw everything up. It eases some concerns, but I'm still concerned. A lot of news is coming from Winx Powers Brazil on Instagram, and when people talked about the use of AI, yeah, I see it. I mean, in this photo of Flora announcing that Panini will be distributing the sticker albums to Europe and Latin America, if you look at the background, you can clearly tell it looks like a lot of it doesn't make sense. And if they plan on using AI for sticker albums sold to children, then that feels like a massive slap to the face. Like, it's one thing to trick adults with AI, but kids? Now that's low. Now, that being said, we don't know if they're going to use AI for the stickers. Maybe they're just using it for promotional backgrounds, but it's still a sour taste. And more importantly, these people more than likely get a package of pre-made assets that are given to them, and then they turn them into stickers and then distribute them. And if those assets from Winx Club, Rainbow, RAI, if that's already AI and they're just going to give it to them, they're not, I don't think they're really allowed to change anything, legally speaking. So it's really a matter of, well, who's the one that's gonna be at fault? In a PowerPoint from Milano Licensing Day, there's a image that shows all the girls and one girl that I don't really recognize next to Aisha. And I'm guessing this may be Roxy, probably trying to incorporate different body types to be more inclusive. And honestly, the only thing I'm upset about is that her hair doesn't match her original design, but these are still subject to change, and we really have no idea who this could be. They also mention that Aisha will be part of the Winx Club from the get-go. Like, they don't plan on introducing her partway through. She's just gonna be there, and she's gonna have been friends with everyone when Bloom meets everyone, and she's just already there, which I'm fine with. That doesn't really change much of anything about her. She can still do all the stuff that we first were introduced to her for, but it just happens later in the story. What's surprising is that they're already showing artwork of the Wizards of the Black Circle, which was, not part of the first season, so that either means they're planning multiple seasons in advance, or they're starting with the Black Circle season, or they're really going to crunch the seasons together, and I really hope They aren't going to squish the season's stories. Trimming out the fat is one thing, that's fine, but this feels like we're just doing cliff notes and animating the original plot. So my concerns just shoot right back up. Now keep in mind, this was originally supposed to be season 9, and they pivoted to a reboot after a lot of development. I have no doubt after the negative reaction of the Netflix live action series, it made them rethink what they want to do with the franchise, and I would definitely argue that a reboot is a lot smarter than just continuing with a season 9 of a show that has slowly been dwindling in popularity for several years now. We've gotten a preview on what some of the dolls are going to look like, and if you zoom into the arms, you can see they will not have elbow articulation, but they kind of look like they have knee articulation. The pictures are not quite all that, high resolution. I will be buying these and doing a review of them when they release, and we also have older pictures of the main group with some variety in whether or not they're transformed or in casual outfits or even ball gowns. I am disappointed with the lack of articulation, but these are play dolls and not fashion dolls, so I can't say I'm particularly surprised. This picture specifically is from a toy fair where they could just be prototypes, but I'm leaning more in the belief that these are way closer to the final design than not. So the show is going to be a full 26 episodes, love to see it, but it's going to be half released in July to September, and the other half will be released next year, which, I like and I don't like this approach. I don't like it because if you have all the episodes, why are you making us wait? I guess it's smart because it'll keep us content for longer while they prep the next season, and it kind of just spaces everything out. Now, I do like it because I get to make a part 1 and a part 2 of season 1, and I get to make more content. So that makes my job easier. I don't need to think about what videos I'm gonna make. I just gotta wait for the next part of the season. I'm hopeful. I think this reboot is gonna be good. I think anything is better than season 8. The bar is very low right now. But now it's time to react to the comments you left on my YouTube community post about Winx Club. They turned Kiko, the bunny, into a notebook. A notebook! I saw some people saying that they're fine with this and some saying that they aren't. Some people thought Kiko was very annoying. Other people thought he was just adorable. I don't like it, but I'm also hoping that maybe we just haven't seen Kiko and I'm in denial. Like, they're talking about this screenshot here, and it definitely looks like they're replacing Kiko. Did Kiko really add anything? Not really. And if this is true, this makes me think they're also gonna be doing away completely with the animal companions that we saw in later seasons. Or maybe, hear me out, maybe she got this cute notebook that she had forever now, and it's like her journal or her diary, and then she discovers she has magic, and then she transforms it into an actual bunny. And that's how we get Kiko. I chalk this up to, we don't really know, we have to wait and see. The way I would have been so down for an animated Winx reboot if it wasn't for the AI. Also, if you haven't found them yet, Tumblr user Mike Yodel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, has collected a fair bit of evidence about it. Yeah, okay, here we go. After looking at everything this person posted, it's becoming very clear that most everything in the concept stage used AI art. A lot of backgrounds, small details don't make any sense. Which, if you're going to use AI, why can't you take a couple seconds to just clean this up? Especially if you're going to use it for promotional artwork. They also do this great comparison between the concept art of Aisha and compare it to another clearly AI artwork, and the hair is the same, and the earrings are the same, and there's just so many similarities. It's very clear they used that artwork and iterated on top of it to create Aisha. It's all pretty damning evidence. My stance hasn't really changed, but seeing how much AI has been used during the developmental stages, it feels creatively bankrupt, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And if they're willing to use AI to cut out corners during development, it wouldn't surprise me that they use AI during the final product. Also, these AI art generators aren't very imaginative. Like, have you ever tried using them? They kind of suck. You get super detailed and it just gets confused and it can't generate the thing that you're imagining. Like, AI art is for the unimaginative. This person also goes on to talk about how they've been told that certain voice lines of Aisha were AI generated, which is a bit harder to prove. and it's word of mouth from some rando on the internet without visual evidence. So we're gonna have to listen in and be very mindful and try to clock it with our own ears. But again, AI audio is also getting better very fast. If only legislation would catch up with this, but we know companies want this to not have legislation. So the battle is going to be very long and slow and painful. If it is the case that they used voice actors' AI voices in the show, I want to drop the show entirely. Like, it's one thing to use AI art, which, like, it's still stealing, but it's one thing to steal, and it's another thing to impersonate. Like, that's just one step way too far. We've already gone, like, way too far. This is whole new territory. That's one massive step for the wrongness of mankind. So we're going to be looking at the first half season with a lot of scrutiny. Oh God, I wish they wouldn't have went the generic CGI route. I am not against updating a style, but I feel what made the OG feel special was its unique look and especially the way the characters and their faces were drawn. It's so distinctive that even today, I can tell if an artist might have been inspired by Winx in the past. If anything, it would have been cool to see them try to build on the existing style. Yeah, I don't think anyone really likes it. It's more just we saw this coming a mile away, and we know it makes certain aspects of development easier. So of course they were going to go this route. It's a trend we see with reboots, and it hurts. A lot of the soul has been stripped from the show because of it. So far, I really like the look of the reboot. Some not minor nitpick issues like the Musa and Stella's stylings, but the animation looks vastly better than I was expecting, and the vibe just feels like we're getting back to the core of Winx. Yeah, I know I just bashed the CGI, but also I'm surprised with how good the CGI looks. That being said, good-looking CGI is pretty commonplace nowadays. It's not like when the third Pirates of the Caribbean came out and it's like, oh, Davy Jones looks so immaculate and incredible, and that was the big selling point because it was new technology and when they were pushing the boundaries. Now it's pretty easy to make highly detailed stuff. The weird faces and bug eyes aside, since that's what all these studios do nowadays, because again, it's safe. Like, their hair and their skin look really detailed. So at least we have that going for us. Honestly, I think this new reboot is probably the best that has happened to this franchise for a while. I mean, since seasons 5 through 8, they've been spinning their pedals and going nowhere. I agree, I've seen some people say that they need to stop rebooting Winx, and I can't disagree with that more, as stated previously. If there's any series that needs a reboot, if there's any series that needs a reboot, it's Winx. Just keep throwing things at the wall until it sticks. This is also just like a very safe idea. Like a good safe idea, like giving us what we already love and just updating it. It's like in video games, everyone loves a good remaster or a good remake. Sells like hotcakes. Reboots allow for the previous incarnation to remain untarnished and still give us new stories. A bold new direction is fine too, but they really had the wrong idea about what would actually appeal to their core audience and fan base. Sometimes the people in charge, a lot of times the people in charge, don't listen to the subordinates that actually understand what people want, and they often barrel through with the numbers or the trends that often don't fit with what the core audience was attracted to that made a show appealing in the first place. I'm okay with rough patches so long as we eventually get our act together. Like, you know the trend of like everyone wants to make the next Overwatch, and there's so many free-to-play live service games, and everyone's like, please just give us single-player story-driven campaigns. We are dying for them. Like, sometimes people don't know what they want, and that is very true. Other times, it's so obvious what we don't want. Why are you still force-feeding it to us? Sorry. And in the last video of me covering the new season of Totally Spies, I mentioned that I'm going to be adding a vlog segment at the end of my videos to force myself to go outside and to help me fight depression and spiraling. And this is that segment. Welcome to the So Isabella has these watercolor paintings she did of foster cats we took care of, and she says she doesn't really care much about them, but she's kept them around for so long, so clearly she cares about them. As a little surprise, I went to Goodwill to hunt down some nice frames and also some other Halloween decorations because I just love Halloween a lot for the kitchen. I got lucky and found 2 frames that were exactly the same size, so I grabbed them both. Got back home and took out the old picture and placed her paintings in them. I hung them up on the wall and waited for her to get home. I didn't get a great angle of her reaction, but as you can probably see, she really liked it. I also wanted to go to a record store to pick up the new Linkin Park, Architects, and A Day to Remember albums. Sadly, they were sold out of Architects and A Day to Remember, but I grabbed whatever band this is because the album art just looks so dang cool. I don't have the magical ability to read metal logos, but this is Relics of Humanity. Also, I'm slowly collecting all the Ghost albums, so it's not a total loss. It may not be surprising, but some of you probably don't know that I really like metal music. Like, that's what I grew up listening to. It's a bit strange how I like to cover like Winx and Totally Spies and Monster High, and one of my favorite shows ever is Ever After High, and my taste in music is people screaming about their feelings. My wardrobe is almost all black, but my room is frilly and pink. It's tax season, so that's all I've done. And I'm trying to be very frugal with my money since I had a dental bill that was like $700. And because I moved last year, I got taxed in 2 different states. So I paid like almost double what I usually do. I don't get tax refunds. I paid almost double what I usually do in taxes. So that hurt really bad. I'm also getting really into dark fantasy again. I mean, you can probably see, like, I have The Emperor of Thorns right here from Mark Lawrence's The Broken Empire trilogy. It's my favorite book series. I was watching Jacksepticeye, who has now become my new favorite comfort YouTuber. I like how chill and laid back he's become, and he likes dark fantasy and metal, so it makes sense that our personalities align and a lot of his opinions align with my opinions when he just randomly says something and I'm like, oh, same. But I was watching him play Demon's Souls, and it just reminded me about how much I love dark fantasy. So now I'm playing The Lords of the Fallen, which I've never played before, and it's really scratching that itch so good because so many of these Dark Souls clones kind of just forget about the exploration and like the world building. They just focus on the combat and that's all they focus on. And I'm like, there's more that makes Dark Souls appealing, guys. And I'm also listening to The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. Fantastic book. After I finish that book, I'm going to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping before jumping into The Daughter's War. I'm also just taking a break from the Stormlight Book 5 because I've been binging the Stormlight series in expectation of the 5th one coming out. And for like the past year and some change, I've been doing nothing but listening to the Stormlight archives. And I'm very burnt out on Brandon Sanderson now. I'm only halfway through book 5 and I'm just like, I can't anymore. I need a palate cleanser. I've honestly forgotten how nice it is to read a book that isn't 3 books in one. And that's all I've been up to this week. Thank you to all my patrons who support the channel. Your support allows me to not have to interrupt the videos with sponsored stuff. $1 is like the equivalent to 200 or even 1,000 views, depending on multiple factors. So the link to my Patreon is down below. I'm really excited about this Winx Club reboot. I've really missed Winx Club. I miss shows where girls are just girls, having fun, and there's like drama and bad guys and stuff. Let me know down below if you want me to show off my vinyl collection in the next vlog, Epilogue. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down below, do you have something in your teeth? To confuse all the people that read the comments before they finish the video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay beautiful and keep playing.